Hi, I'm Daniel, and the 2015 animated film Minions is actually amazing. And this, as well as Illumination as a whole, is really overhated, more than other things equal in quality, just for being successful. In my opinion, their films are mostly good, and even their worst films aren't quite bad, but even if you disagree, Illumination hate has gone too far, and is seen as the cool thing to do now. Their films appeal to the lowest common denominator of families and casual viewers first. Yes, but how is that different to most well-known animated studios? It's probably a sad time to bring it up, but Blue Sky made worse films that were pandering, but wait, they're not successful so no one cares. Sony Picture Animation makes mostly low quality stuff pandering at that same audience, but oh wait, they're also not successful, and Spider-Verse exists, so the studio is now good after just one film. Now the Mitchell vs. Machines came out and that was also good, but that argument existed way before that film. A lot of people are calling the animation studio great just after that film came out. This is my first but won't be my last Illumination video, because I have your opinions on their films. Also, this won't be like my bug site video, because I can't call it a masterpiece because it doesn't do anything in particular masterly. Just a film that does a lot great, which is sometimes better. Part 1, Despicable Me franchise. First, I'm going to briefly discuss the Despicable Me films, but I will save for y'all with my highly requested Illumination ranking, which won't release until at least Sing 2 comes out. Despicable Me is an amazing first film in both a franchise and a studio, for being funny and heartfelt simultaneously. Despicable Me 2 is a pretty great sequel for continuing the comedy and heart, with new characters too. Slightly weaker but still a film that's very entertaining to watch. Despicable Me 3 can only call it average for the bad story and pacing, or having too much going on there it's hard to care about it. Some bits are executed good, but it kind of pulls down the franchise as a whole. Now let's get into the film in this franchise I'll be discussing. Part 2, Storytelling. I called this section storytelling and not the story, because it's not the story itself that matters. Minions has a very simple story. What really matters is the way it's told. The film opens with all the Minions bosses throughout history. In a scene at work where it shows the right amount to show how many bosses they served, but it keeps it short enough that it doesn't get old. The film's marketing included pirate minions, and I remember wondering why it was in the film, but it probably felt too young having another bit in the opening scene. First, the scene felt weirdly paced in the movie, but just because the trailer's being overplayed. It quite quickly gets the three minions who are the main characters, Kevin, Stuart and Bob, on the adventure, and it doesn't take too long for them to meet Sky to overkill. The film's pacing is spectacular for just being right in speed, not too fast or slow. It knows when to have a fun moment or to move the story. It helps that the film is less than 90 minutes long, which is good because a film shouldn't be longer when it can do all the things it does short easily. It's one of the many reasons I prefer animation over live action. This makes the film very entertaining, and when watching it for this video, I almost forgot I wasn't watching it strictly for enjoyment. That's a very subjective thing. Criticism for this film, which is bad, is the lack of dialogue with the minions. Reason 1, the film has a narrator at the start that adds to the comedy, but the film knows when to get rid of it so it's not annoying. Reason 2, there are human characters that speak English. Reason 3, the minions use body language to express their emotions and it's easier to understand. Reason 4, their language Minionese has some English words and words that sound like English words, so most of it's understandable. Films that do the yak dialogue worse but don't get the same criticism are the Shaun the Sheep films. I personally don't find their problem in them films, but there's no reason it works and Minions doesn't, and not having much dialogue. It only has one of the four reasons, that being the body language. The argument isn't successful, so never mind. The story itself doesn't seem like much, but the way it's told is extraordinary. Part 3, the characters. Minions is a character-driven film, which is something that Illumination in general does a lot. I mostly prefer character-driven when the characters are good, and thankfully here they're better than good. Kevin is the leader who wants to save his people after being bored to silliness. He is serious and dedicated to the mission, which makes him a superb protagonist. In contrast, Stuart is someone who doesn't like work, who would rather not be there, and didn't join by his own choice. While that is the main personality type, both of these characters can show more than that. They aren't just one-dimensional labels. The best one, Bob, is a childlike and optimistic minion whose personality is best showed by the fact he wanted to go on a mission, but later is scared of the journey ahead. Bob is incredible for being a middle ground to both Kevin and Stuart, also having his own struggles along the way. These three are all great individually, but the dynamics of the trio are brilliant, and really add to the film in an extraordinary way. I how surprised fleshed out they get as it goes on. Gaia Overkill is a spectacular villain, especially compared to the other villains of this franchise. Vector is funny and I enjoy him as a character, but not as a villain. He's mediocre at best, for not being a slightly bit threatening or an interesting antagonist. Macho has the opposite problem, for being a good villain for how well he's built up, but he's really bland and uninteresting. And the whole asking Gru to join him doesn't work as a concept because we don't know what this guy is like, what his backstory, or even anything in the slightest bit dimension. Balthazar Brat is probably the best out of just the Despicable Me films, for both his backstory and for being entertaining enough. However, Sky's Overkill is threatening and scary, for her slowly turning insane throughout the film, entertaining and having some funny moments, even though the comedy comes more from her, who's amazing. She has a backstory of wanting to be a villain and queen, which she actually achieves for about one day. The thing that Minions managed to get just right with her character is how she is given a reason for her actions and includes sexism, but it doesn't in any way justify her actions or make it seem like society is to blame for her crimes. It just was one of the things that helped cause it. An overall majesty of villain and the best Illumination villain, and yes, you count maybe the ones here. Okay, so the important characters work, but not just that. Practically every character with multiple lines is good. Name some examples. The way this film represents Queen Elizabeth many years ago is great. The Minions meet a family of villains, and they're really superb characters who are so entertaining to watch that they should get their own movie before more Despicable Me films. It could be a good idea, but although I like Illumination, I can admit that they make films for the money. There's more like this like other villains at the convention, the behind guard, and even the news presenter that tries to be polite. Minions really values developing characters throughout the film in most scenes, which help with the art. Even some of the worst scenes like that weird bit where the guards hypnotized. Has the bit where Kevin starts smiling, which is a subtle bit of character growth and shows some more of his fun side. The characters in Minions are spectacular, and one of the reasons this film is so amazing. Part 4, Perfect Prequel. Saying it's perfect at being a prequel may be exaggeration and only did that for iteration, but it's still extraordinary how this film avoids so many of the problems with prequels. This doesn't spoil anything, so it can be watched first or after Despicable Me with no difference. It just has the minions, so it doesn't have to deal with feeling like it has to set up everything. The only thing that can't happen is the minions dying, and there's only one sure fake out death. Well, Bob can and probably did die, but I don't want to think about that. This being a prequel is adding possibilities, when prequels normally write themselves in a corner, which makes it so things can't happen because of canon. It only appears in the final epilogue scene, and its amazing incorporation, with the last line being, "He is despicable." Great way to tie into Despicable Me, without it feeling any bit forced, which is one of the reasons why I'm worried about Minions 2, The Rise of Gru, because I think the credit scenes do enough to into the film. First film is a cash grab, I can admit that, but the idea is still good. However, The Rise of Gru just seems like a beyond cash grab. It's been delayed a year. First was tricky because lockdown, but I think by that second delay might be because it's being improved somewhat, which is hopeful but still. This video is meant to come out close to the sequel's release, but it got delayed again. Now releasing it around now means nothing. The only thing that wasn't explained by this that I want to see in the sequel is to find out how Gru met Nefario. Anyway, this is almost a perfect prequel. Part 5. Comedy, animation, music, etc. I'm grouping all the other things I want to say about the film into just one section. Minions has great comedy in my opinion, for the incredible character interactions and have a real dialogue humour more than slapstick, which is surprising for the film this is. The best scene in the film is when in Villain Con, for how many back-to-back jokes there is. The best ones I can remember is the giant that's not evil or a tyrant. We were born with yippers, and we killed the original, which I remember how funny that was and still is. I remembered it was left out of the junior novelization I read, which was greatly disappointing. While the villain can be more, the whole film has comedy like that, and I think it's really funny. Minions animation isn't extraordinary anyway, but that's not a bad thing. I prefer a film with generic animation that looks good over a film with bad animation that's unique, and this is the first one. Just an improvement of what Despicable Me started, but that's what makes it work so well. It tries some different styles like stop motion and Scarlett's bedtime story, and overall the animation is great. There is some music in Minions, and it fits well like the opening song for setting up the film's tone. It uses music to introduce a setting, which gives it a different feel to most of the time when all the existing songs are used in modern animated films. Animation does use that music, but doesn't overuse it, except maybe in Sing, but I did well Sing competition, so it makes sense. Now I'm going to discuss other things great about this film. Minions manages to take itself seriously when it needs to be, yet the climax where Scarlett has gone insane and is trying to kill the minions while Kevin has grown giant. It knows when to tone the comedy down and acknowledge the high threat of the situation, and it treats the audience with respect. The film uses different settings well in how Yivia presents it, as well as doing a good job as being set in 1966 and not being overly annoying about it. Most of what it does is have references in the background, which aren't jarring if you don't get what it means. Minions also gets your points for having the dance party be after the credits, so it doesn't ruin the ending. Despicable Me was one of the films that popularised the trend, so seeing this execute a dance party semi-well was great to see. Minions is a fun film, and in quality, I think it deserved the box office record, and before anyone says it's giving money to a big company. I said in quality, its Illumination is a new comedy so it's better than other things, and Disney is way bigger. Yo budget doesn't mean yo quality, or even yo effort. All the time it does, but not always. I doubt this film's effort is even that big, but yo effort also doesn't mean yo quality. I can understand not liking these films, but using yo budget and yo effort for legitimate solid reasons is just not good. Part 6 Conclusion. In conclusion, this is just my opinion, and it's okay if you disagree. I am just sharing my opinion of how really overhated this film, as well as Illumination, is, and how the hate feels mandatory. Not all of the hate, but some portion of it. I say this every time my video is over 10 minutes long, but this is my third longest video about just one film. And I'm going to make a prediction that I took the longest time to edit out of all my videos. I plan to make these type of review analysis videos more common on this channel soon, especially because all of them have got at least 100 views. The end.